Hello folks, this is JMC and I am continuing giving a second part to my intro video for the 2nd of January 2021. We're back in the kitchen and let's do this formally. So here JMC presents StudioTalk second series number 1. The first one was 0, and we got cut off, as it so often happens. And yes, I wanted to continue because just to kind of situate things. That's what all the studio talks are all about. It's about situating things. And here, for one thing, here is Emmi again. And what you heard was the beginning of my latest piece called Aria for Harmonica, which I actually play on a melodica and not on a harmonica. And I want to use this as the tune for my videos. Technically, I don't know, I'm not doing any editing, not doing any cutting. I still haven't figured out how to do that. It gets really complicated very quickly, and it's never as easy as they say it is. And this aria for harmonica, I'll devote a video to it. It's about 4 minutes long. And it's the piece that I started writing about this time last year. And I played it for Monica. It came together very quickly, but it had a long development. I bought this keyboard, not extra especially for it, but so that I could play outdoors because it has batteries. And 2 days ago, I actually did that again in front of a public and played several pieces, including the Erdballade, which is on YouTube. And yes, this aria for harmonica, like I said, had a long development over about half a year, and at one point I got the idea. Harmonica is Monica. It's dedicated to Monica, and she heard it, and it's very beautiful. It's very soulful. And yes, well, at the end I ended up playing it half on the keyboard and half on this melodica, so I'm playing 2 instruments at the same time, which is a lot of fun and easy to get confused with, as I noticed the other day. And yes, the idea of having a keyboard, that's part of the situation, which is to go on the street to play my pieces, earn a little bit of money for it. Especially for Emmi here, because she costs a lot of money. I mean, she eats a lot. She's hungry all the time. They say big dogs are insatiable, and I'm making that experience. And she's got all sorts of little things that I have to go to the vet and stuff like this at the age of 12. And everybody, I mean, when I walk her in town, and I don't walk on the leash because she's so slow, people always make comments, she must, that must be a really old dog, this, that, or they ask me, and then they tell me, oh, we had one too, and it made it to 14 or 14 and a half or whatever, and this is so I keep getting this. Anyway, she's pretty intensive in terms of maintenance, and therefore I had the idea of playing on the street so that I could get some extra cash. And cash will definitely be a problem, as it always has been, when my money fund Monica runs out sometime in the course of this year, probably. And okay, that's also part of the situation. This has been a catastrophic year for translations. I earned, I don't know what, a fraction of what I usually earn, and the corona business didn't make things any easier. And so I had a lot of time, but I had a hard time concentrating for my projects, and although I did write the journal that I mentioned in my previous video in French, I wrote it to the end. That means finished in April, so I had about 2 months, and I gave it to some friends to read. They made corrections, I put the corrections in, and I was really determined to publish this until my publisher friend in Paris asked me if I really wanted to publish it. And she wrote this, so I wasn't able to ask her, why do you ask me that? But that kind of made its way in my mind, and I realized no, I didn't want to plunge into that and just keep dealing with it as a writing problem, because I was at the same time just going through the sorrow, the grief, the loss, this grieving process, which was really difficult because I was very, very much alone. After this was one of my fears about splitting from Brigitte, is that my social life would collapse, and this is exactly what happened after Monica died. And Monica didn't have a lot of people she knew in Staufen. Her life was elsewhere, and so when she was gone, I was left all alone. And although this is a Christian country, and I have many friends and acquaintances, no one really realized how much help I could have used, how much company, and it got really so bad that I finally kind of got used to being alone, and said, okay, I'll make the most of it. But to be perfectly honest, if it hadn't been for Emmi, I think I really would have been tempted to commit suicide, because everything is so difficult. I've got my own issues. I'm getting on to 70. Life isn't getting any easier. The world isn't getting any better. The people are all, everybody's got big problems. And now with this corona thing, there's going to be an economic crisis, and many people unemployed, many people looking for welfare, having to apply for welfare, including myself. And that means that in the worst case scenario, the welfare department is going to ask to use my apartment as collateral, which means I'll be taking a loan from the German state and will have to pay it back, or my heirs will have to pay it back. And this is gives me a very creepy feeling, even if there is a certain justice to it. But they determine how much money I get, how much money I have to live on, and I don't like this. So there is the temptation, the idea, the possibility of my selling the apartment, going somewhere else, and disposing of the money in my way, at my rate. And the most realistic solution would be either here in the area, but this is a very, very, very popular place. A lot of people come to Staufen and they want to live here, and therefore finding real estate for the same value is going to be very, very difficult. I might get one room, at the most 2 rooms, and then I would be lucky if I found one here, or go to France. And there I have this kind of fantasy of living in a small town, actually a village in the north of Alsace called Weiterswiller, which has a Zen temple, and buying an apartment there and being able to go to the temple to meditate, to practice, because I think this is probably the best thing I could do at this point, just kind of settle into my being, such as it is. Although I continue to meditate, but I mean a half hour a day is just not, isn't enough. And I realize just living with myself, all the emotions, the confusion, all of that is very difficult to deal with, and therefore so for therapeutic reasons it would be a good thing to do, because on the intellectual level, having done the projects that I've done, those stemming from my ozone station and continuing into the Weltformel exhibition, which I did all of last year, helped me to solve the problems involving medium and consciousness and mind, and how that all fits together. So I have a model and I'll present that. It's the Weltformel, and therefore basically it states that matter is the medium for mind, and consciousness is the experience of mind as medium. So it's like a medium is always in between matter and mind, and if you go on the, take it on the one side, you've got the content is the matter, and if you take it on the other side, the content is mind, which means meaning, in fact. But that's another video. Let me see how much time we have left, because these 12 minutes goes a lot quicker than one thinks, unless you're on. Yes, well, see, 30 seconds. So let that be my introduction on the 2nd of January 2021, and thank you for listening, and I encourage you to look at the old ones. StudioTalks.